Prologue, then into Bin Hu for the opening road stage. On to Zhurong, stage 2, the decisive stage, up with the climb. Stage 3, the Lotus capital into Jinhu. Today for stage 4, stage 5, the longest stage at 146 kilometres. And then the following 2 days across the last weekend to decide who has the last much coveted orange jersey. To get things started, amongst the early men down the ramp on the opening day of racing was the Kiwi Dylan Kennett, riding for the St George Continental Cycling Team. A medalist at the Commonwealth Games this year who was expected to be quick, and he was, an average speed of more than 53 kilometres per hour. Marechko, the defending champion, he was well off the pace of Kennett. Kennett with a time of just 6 minutes and 9 seconds. Marechko was 1 minute and 2 seconds slower. Sergei Techkov was challenging all the way to the finish line, but he missed the orange jersey by 7 seconds. Mission accomplished for the Kiwi. The opening road stage into Ben Hu, a stage of some 85 kilometres. With the Grand Buddha overlooking the peloton, the race itself was anything but calm. As soon as the gun went off, the attacks were on in earnest. The team that proved to be the most aggressive throughout the stage were the men in blue from United Healthcare. Amongst the early aggressors was Sergei Techkov, the man who'd finished third in the opening prologue, and that caught the attention of the race leader, Dylan Kennett, his teammates from St George Continental Cycling Team controlling that early break. Moments after that, another group formed with 5 riders, once again United Healthcare represented. On this occasion, it was Alexander Cataford, the Canadian on that team, but just on 20 kilometres remaining, a fall in the peloton. Marechko and his teammates, they were caught up behind the fall. The breakaway was finally brought back inside the final 4 kilometres, and then the sprinters had their way. Marechko got caught behind the wanted group Goubert lead-out train with Wesley Crater. His sprint was impeded. The flyers were then taken around the outside. Again, United Healthcare, the blue colours, Carlos Alzate, he opened up the sprints, but the Colombian, Juan Sebastian Milano, showed everybody a clean pair of wheels as he collected his first career stage victory in the Tour of Taihu Lake. A rapid stage with an average speed of more than 47.5 kilometres per hour. Stage 2, Zhurong the destination, a stage that 130 kilometres, 2 major climbs. It was expected to be the big battle in the race for the general classification, and it didn't disappoint. The Dragons at the opening ceremony, the drums were rolling, the climbers were waiting. The gun to get them underway, and again it was aggressive right at the very start. Amongst the early fallers, the wearer of the blue jersey is the leader of the best young rider classification. Cormac McGough went down, and the jostling for position was on with still more than 100 kilometres to race. The time bonuses at the intermediate sprints all important. Desperation as Alzate clipped the gutter, went over the top, and he was out of the race with a broken collarbone. Edwin Avila, who was also involved in the fall, the rider that he came together with, was disqualified at the end of the race as others caught up behind it, made the most of the convoy of cars to return to the main field. The St George Continental team tried to control the race for Kennett, not known as a particularly strong climber. They were looking to reduce the attacks over the climbs, but they didn't quite have it all their own way. There was a break of 5 that went off the front. They put one of their team riders in that move, Ryan Kavanagh, but when they hit the climbs, Marechko was being distanced. Felosi was then attacking in the blue colours of Dalco Marseille. He was caught with just a few kilometres to go, and a select group of strong riders and fast finishers were approaching the last kilometre, and then Ben Hill put his cards on the table to see if he could upset the sprinters. Hill almost held on. It was the patience, though, of Milano that paid dividends in the end. He managed to collect his second stage victory in a row, this time in a photo finish ahead of Boris Vallet. The victory for Milano, the race leader's jersey moving across to the shoulders of Boris Vallet. Stage 3, 88.5 kilometres into the ancient city of Jinhu, hosting a stage of the Tour of Taihu Lake for the first time. And the Lotus capital of the country, it didn't disappoint, nor did the King's Palace. The celebration of the influence of the Lotus and the story of the Lotus girl being celebrated at the start of the stage. As expected, once again, it was an aggressive start. Kennett, in the pink and black colours, tried to get himself up into the breakaways. More falls back in the peloton. Castillo, the Mexican sprinter from Jelly Belly, was on the deck, but back up very quickly. Breakaway group of 4 riders formed at the front. They were never given an advantage of more than 1 minute, yet the chase was a tough one. Willia Trestina, the team of Jakob Mareczko, they were amongst the chasers. Ben Hill again found himself on the move. Fuentes, the young Spaniard from Burgos BH, was also a powerhouse at the front. So too was Keegan Schwerbel from Jelly Belly, as they were joined by the young Frenchman Robin Meyer of Delco Marseille. The orange jersey of Boris Valet, he picked up the first of the intermediate sprints to get another 3-second time bonus to extend his overall race lead. But the breakaway took the bonuses at the second intermediate sprint, and it was Ben Hill in the black and yellow colours who went across the line in first position. With just on 5 kilometres to race, the break was still holding on to an advantage of 10 seconds. Hill attacked over the final bridge, hoping that that could be his launching pad, but the sprinters were on them as they went around the final corner. With 500 metres to go, Milano once again was in the box seats as his teammates in pink from Manzana Polsterbon were delivering him for the perfect lead-outs. But never to be written off, the Italian star Jakob Mareczko, coming from 10 back with 200 metres to go, flew home to win the stage. Valet was in second, Milano was in third. Jubilation for the Italian. Mareczko collecting his 16th career stage victory in the Tour of Taihu Lake. Valet in second position, Milano this time in third.
Yeah, so all my mates work hard today for put me in front for the sprint, so I'm very happy for this result and for all my mates. This year there are a lot of good teams here, same Israel, United Healthcare, many teams, so it's more difficult.
In the 9th edition of the race, it is the strongest peloton we've ever seen assembled, and Boris Valet is evidence of that. The race leader at the top of the table, extending his advantage yesterday. 12 seconds clear now of Ben Dybel. Likewise to Alexander Cataford, followed by Sergei Techkov in 4th position. Daniel Turek rounding out the top 5. Vincent Liu leads the red jersey for the best Chinese classification, but his lead now has been reduced to just 1 second. The green jersey, Boris Valet, with his consistency, now leads ahead of Juan Sebastian Milano, but Milano will wear the green jersey today on loan because Valet has the orange jersey to wear. Cormac McGough, just as he has since the opening day, he wears the blue jersey as the leader of the best young rider classification. The celebrations at the end of yesterday's stage, it's business time now for stage 4. They're all our jersey leaders as they're ready to get set for the 4th stage. This is also a chance to take a look at one of the great attractions here in Jianyang. It is the Medicine Buddha statue, and it's not just one statue, it is 3 rolled into one, representing medicine, sunlight and moonlight. Let's now take a look at the course today. It's fairly simple. It is a circuit around Jianyang. It's just short of 100 kilometres. It's a little over 12 kilometres per lap. They've got a little extension to be able to get there, and the wind direction today, it's pretty much a headwind up the finishing straight, a tailwind down the back straight. It will make it difficult for a breakaway, but that won't be for a lack of trying. 2 intermediate sprints along the way, the first one up to 37 kilometres, the second one up to 74 kilometres, where time bonuses are up for grabs. The opening ceremony before the stage got underway. The swords were out, the dancing was enthusiastic. As is so often the case, the dragon took centre stage as well. Some core strength work required to be able to get in that position with the dragons. The swords were ever popular. So too we saw some battens out throughout the opening ceremony and some gymnastic looking moves. throughout yesterday's stage, we saw the celebration of the Lotus, and we also had some calming dances before the riders made their way onto the start grid to get the stage started. The beautiful green representing the leaves down on the water. This is one of the local dignitaries. This is Lang Wang, the Deputy District Mayor of Jianyang. It's the second time for Jianyang to host the stage of the Tour of Taihu Lake. We're very honoured to be able to host this event. We believe that the Tour of Taihu will become another signature of Jianyang, just like the World Women's Go Tournament and the Asia Cup Triathlon in Taizhou. Side on for the riders, and the orange jersey, the overall race leader, Yellow Valais, is riding brilliantly. Boris Valais, I should say. The red jersey for the leader of the Chinese classification, that is Liao. And Boris Valais, he's had a few near misses on stages. Second place yesterday, just as he was the day before. That man just signing on then, Jakob Moretsko, will be the man to beat today. The blue jersey on the shoulder of Cormac McGough, and the light blue colours of the Dalco Marseille team. They're ready to race and try and pick up a stage victory. Let's now head down to a few of the favourites, starting off with the rider who is second place in the Best Chinese Rider classification. Zhang Pingliu is the rider who is in second place there. Today, my main goal is to gain the time bonuses at the first intermediate sprint because I'm only 2 seconds behind the red jersey. My entire team will help me to get those seconds at the first sprint.
There's a couple guys creeping up on the young rider. Young rider is a pretty important objective for our team. There's a couple guys creeping up with time bonuses that they got yesterday, so we're going to try and get in the break and sweep up a couple of those if we can. Pretty simple, yeah.
Hi guys, the objective today is to work for Sebastian or Jordan because he does this sprint for the team, and together working for dates, and the expectation is win today's stage.
Yeah, the plan pretty much after the hilly stage 2 is going to be the same every day. We have a good sprinter in Jiggy Gam, and he'll go for the sprint, and I'm I think 10th on GC at the moment. I was 14th before yesterday, and I'll just keep trying to get in the break, trying to sneak seconds, and wherever I finish GC is where I finish. But any chance to get seconds I'll take, and then keep pushing. I don't think I've ever seen a stage of Taihu where the brace actually succeeded, but we'll keep rolling the dice and trying to take that opportunity, and if not, I'll help the sprinter in the finish. So just keep trying to see what we can achieve out of this tour.
We will see which gonna be on the break, which team, and then try maybe to stay the gap not far and catch before the end. I hope for a sprint and maybe win a stage. But there are strong guys behind me, and I hope to keep also the GC. Then it's 2 objectives on 1 stage, and we're gonna see for today each day.
After a couple of near misses for Boris Valais, he is in the box seat. He leads by 12 seconds ahead of Ben Dybel and Alexander Catterford. The gloves are on, the guns are out, the stage is underway. The leaders of the various classifications finding themselves with the honour of being right at the front of the peloton as they roll out. 106 riders remain in the race from the 221 who started in Wuxi with the opening prologue on Sunday. A fall for Tom Hubbard early on, and that came as a bit of a surprise, like the first hit of hot wasabi, a real shock to the system for Tom Hubbard as he goes down right at the very start. A crash that was self-inflicted. Peloton just rolling on by. No interest in waiting for Tom Hubbard on that occasion. A few of his teammates from the St. George Cycling Club sitting at the back of the group. They're not waiting either. This is another look at the fall for Hubbard. Difficult to explain that one as to what went wrong, and I'm sure that Tom will be a little bit embarrassed by it. the ego will have been damaged more so than the body. The man who was just pushing him off, that is the team's sports director, that's Brett Dutton, who was an Olympic Games bronze medalist in Korea, in Seoul, back in 1988. That was in the team's pursuit on the velodrome. The blue jersey, Cormac McGough, a rider that is aiming desperately to try and defend that lead. We heard from his teammate just in those pre-stage interviews, Keegan Swerble, who actually sits in second position in that classification. So there's a bit of a battle between those teammates. This is Ryan Kavanagh slipping back through the convoy of cars. Suggests that he's probably waiting for Tom Hubbard to be able to bring him back into the main field. Worth noting, in amongst the early moves, the Willia Trestina team and also Wanty Group Goubert, two of the teams, the big favourites for the stage today, represented in anything going up the road to try and prevent them from having to do all the chasing as they did throughout yesterday's stage. One team that didn't contribute too much to the pacemaking yesterday was the team of the dual stage winner, Juan Sebastian Milano. The men in the pink colours of Manzana Postobon, they've just been playing a game of patience, sitting down towards the back of the peloton, letting everybody else do the attacking, letting the others do the chasing, and then launching their sprinter into orbit. Monsalve, number 176, with that left hand all bandaged up, still surviving at the back, the Venezuelan national champion. He has looked very uncomfortable throughout the race. The Jelly Belly team, with the rider in the blue jersey, Cormac McGough, they've been super aggressive. So too the Israel Cycling Academy. This is Nathan Earl, who was trying to force the breakaway throughout the first lap on this circuit. They're a team that have lost their sprinter on stage 2, Edwin Avila, who was involved in the crash that saw the abandonment of Carlos Alzate. And then at the end of the stage, Avila was also disqualified from the race. So now for Israel Cycling Academy, they need to look for another option to be able to win the stage. This is Monsalve at the back of the peloton. Number 4 is a rider worth watching at the back end of the stage. That's Danny Lopez. He won't get involved in any of the early attacking. He'll just be waiting patiently, anticipating a sprint finish. Nathan Earl, though, the rider from the Israel Cycling Academy, he can't afford to do so. He needs very much to get on the front foot and try and break away. Banana in his back pocket for Dylan Kennett. Kiwi rider who was the wearer of the orange jersey for a couple of stages on the back of winning the opening prologue. He defended it well on stage 1, but he conceded 39 seconds on stage 2. The dual climbs on that stage, a little bit too much for the rider that you could possibly refer to now as a former track specialist, as he's doing a great job making the transition across to the road. The red helmets and the yellow tops to the jerseys. This is the Eritrean team who've been very active, and Natnil Testfazion has been sprinting really well for that team. He's had a couple of top 10 finishes on stages, and yesterday Testfazion finished in 4th position. The navy blue colours with the red shoes, that's the rider from the Isle of Man, Sam Brand. We've seen a bit of him throughout this year's race. The blue colours with United Healthcare. They've another team that are looking for a different way to try and win, because their sprinter, Carlos Alzate, the Colombian, catapulted over the top of the handlebars in the first sprint on stage 2 and had to abandon the race, unfortunately. This is Big Ben Wolf from Jelly Belly, a rider who sits at just 27 seconds down in the general classification. He has been riding strongly. The pink colours now of Manzana Postobon showing themselves up towards the front. One way for the majority of the team not to have to do any of the pacemaking or any of the chasing is to ensure that they do get someone in the breakaway. And the orange jersey himself sitting a fair way down the peloton. Boris Valet looking quite relaxed. 2 back-to-back second place finishes. The Eritrean team here with 3 riders at the front trying to organise a breakaway. But with such high speed, it's incredibly difficult to get off the front. The Medicine Buddha statue is one of the great attractions in Jianyang, but it's not just one statue. It's 3 for the price of 1, bringing together the Buddha statues of medicine, sunlight and moonlight. As part of the Qing Lake National Wetland Park, it's a peaceful place, occasionally interrupted by a sometimes frustrating game of golf, but the water will return with a calming influence. We're now live with stage 4 of the Tour of Taihu Lake, and despite all the attempts for a breakaway to form at the front, the peloton is effectively still all together. It has been a race since day 1 that has been ridden ahead of schedule. It has been incredibly quick. This is Wolf once again, the white colours of Jelly Belly. The blue colours Delco Marseille, they've been sprinting well with Yannick Martinez. They've been aggressive off the front. We saw Filosi on stage 2, likewise Remy Rocher. Yesterday it was Robin Mayer. They've been animators of the race, but not quite able to get the stage victory they're hunting. Technically it's a pretty simple course today, just 2 corners, 180 degrees at either end of this 12-kilometre circuit. The road surface is perfect. There's hardly a breath of wind. The temperature's probably in the high teens at the moment. It might warm up a little bit more towards the back end of the stage with just 55 kilometres to race. They've been on the road now for just on 40 kilometres and still no breakaway having been formed. They've already been through the first of the intermediate sprints with the all-important time bonuses. Let's now take a look at what happened. First time through for the intermediate sprint. The rider in the pink and black colours, this is Dylan Kennett, the Kiwi, who was the winner of the opening prologue, showing some impressive finishing speed. He collected the maximum points and the 3-second time bonus. The orange jersey also in the mix, and that is Boris Valet. Across the line in 3rd position for Boris Valet, so he gets a 1-second time bonus. Squeezed in the middle, nearest to the picture, that was Tyler Williams from the Israel Cycling Academy, so he gets himself a 2-second time bonus. Those riders, they also gain 5 points for Kennett in the race for the green jersey, 3 points for Williams in the race for green, and 1 point for Boris Valet as well. The green jersey, the points classification, the jersey today is actually being worn by Milano, but it is Boris Valet who is the leader. But Valet has the orange jersey, the leader's jersey for the general classification, so Milano has that jersey on his shoulders on loan. Here's a look back at an incident at the rear end of the peloton. Another fall at the back of the peloton, and that looks like it is Lopez perhaps who has gone down. It is number 4, Danny Lopez has fallen heavily. The sprinter from the Burgos BH team. No broken bones. He picks himself up quite quickly. A real look of frustration, but this is the price you pay for sitting down the back of the peloton. It's quite simple numerically. The more riders in front of you, the more chance there is of being involved in the crash. And Lopez, one of the genuine contenders to win the stage, he's had a 3rd place finish. He was 8th on the stage yesterday, 5th the day before that. Is now going to pay the price. That will hurt and take the sting out of his tail when it comes down to the end of the stage. Rest of the race, all still together. As for the battle for the red jersey, the leading Chinese rider, it was good news on that occasion for Liao, the current leader of that classification, as Jianpeng Liu, who was desperately trying to get the time bonuses to move into the red jersey. He was involved in that intermediate sprint, but he finished in 6th position, so no time bonuses for Liu. He'll have to focus on the next of the intermediate sprints and then perhaps pick up a top 3 placing at the end of the stage to see whether he can move into the lead of that classification. This is now the Qinghai team going on the attack. And Ben Hill, followed by Keegan Swerble. Ben Hill has been desperate to get a stage win in this race. He really enjoys racing in China. Ben Hill, the man in the black and yellow colours. Unfortunately for Hill last year, the race after this, the Tour of Hainan, he had a nasty crash and he broke his back, a few fractured vertebrae. He was then in hospital for around about 4 weeks. just on release, he ruptured his appendix. He had another couple of weeks in hospital. He then had overstayed his visa, so it took him yet another week to be able to get his visa issues sorted out so he could fly home. He ended up spending an additional 7 weeks in China and only landed back in home in Australia on Christmas Day. Quite the journey for Ben Hill. He was in the break yesterday. He was off the front the day before. He's been close, but not quite. This is the RTS team now trying to break off the fronts. 2 riders on this team remaining in the race. 3 of them have already abandoned, and the 2 riders still in the race from RTS Racing are both from Mongolia.
Right.
On this occasion, Batsa Khan, by the looks of it, the rider who is part of the UCI Cycling Academy, their development academy that tries to help the globalisation of the sport. Arguably, in fact not arguably, definitely the most famous rider to go through that system is none other than Chris Froome. Froome was part of the system when he was racing under a Kenyan licence. Froome now races under a British licence. If he was doing that early in his career, he would not have had the opportunity to ride with the UCI Cycling Academy. The look across the shoulder, the shake of the head in frustration. You will not be able to survive off the front of the peloton today if you are on your own. Back of the race, number 136. This is Tom Hubbard, the rider who crashed at the very start of the stage, completely self-inflicted. Just in front of him, number 2, that is Angel Fuentes. We saw a lot of Fuentes throughout yesterday's stage. The 22-year-old Spaniard was in the breakaway. It was a breakaway group of 4, and a strong quartet it was yesterday. Caught just on the final corner with less than 700 metres remaining in the stage. Get the impression that Fuentes is at the back of the peloton here, waiting for Danny Lopez, the rider from that team who we saw the replay of his crash just a little while ago. Journey up through the peloton. There's the green jersey, Milano. Can he collect number 3 today? He was 3rd on the stage yesterday, and his big rival is just over to the other side. Number 84, that is Jakob Mareczko. And you will have noticed that Mareczko, with his teammates from Willia Trestina, the entire team, they ride the red Willia bikes, but not Mareczko. He's the team leader. He's on the white bike. He's a little special. And he is super quick. If things go according to plan, he is the man to beat. The blue jersey, Cormac McGough. A slender lead in this classification. The advantage for Cormac McGough in the race for the best young rider classification is just 2 seconds ahead of the Frenchman Remy Rocher, who rides for the Delco Marseille Provence team. Also at 2 seconds behind is McGough's teammate, Keegan Schwerbel, who we saw in the breakaway yesterday. With the ponytail, number 121, that is Tim Guy. A rider that has a similar approach to racing as what we've seen from his teammate, Ben Hill. If I can't win in a sprint finish, let's get in the breakaway. But Guy's form has been nowhere near the level of what we've seen from Ben Hill throughout this year's race. Effectively halfway through the stage and still no breakaway. That speaks volumes of the speed of the race. There he is at number 4. He makes contact once again. That's Lopez just tacking onto the back of the peloton. Fuentes was waiting for him. You can see all those people standing off to the side of the road. They're the team Spaniards. And difficult to take a feed from the side of the road with such high speeds. And you can see there's been another attack out of that corner. So at the front of the peloton, there's no time to collect the bidon. They're too busy, full gas, getting back up to speed. A nice pair of hands at the back of the peloton by Jordan Parra from the Manzana Postobon team. That was an impressively clean take by Parra. Strong group of 5. Just nudging their way off the front. But there's a pretty quick reaction coming from behind. You can see the bright fluoro yellow and blue colours. That's the Wanty Group Goubert team doing the chasing. Flick of the elbow by Ben Hill. He's joined in the breakaway for the second day running by the big American Keegan Schwerbel. And Hill, not going all the way to the back of this group, was pretty keen to slot through to the front once again. Leans over the handlebars without actually holding onto the handlebars, just resting his forearms in the middle. That's to move himself into the position as if he's got the time trial bars on. And on a day like this, aerodynamics are all important. There is the orange jersey of Boris Vallet. Sits in the comfort of the slipstream of Wesley Creeder. Creeder, Dutchman on the team. He is the key lead-out rider for Boris Vallet. So the other men on the team, they'll be up the front, they'll be controlling the race, they'll be doing the pacemaking, chasing down this breakaway, at least attempting to do so. Meanwhile, Wesley Creeder, his job is just to stick with Vallet and make sure the orange jersey is safe and then try and launch him to a stage victory. And it will be Vallet that's sprint finish concludes with roughly 200 or 150 metres still to go. There's the red jersey of Liao, the leader of the best Chinese rider classification. But it is just a 1 second buffer. And this might catch his attention because you can see the red and white colours. There's 3 riders from this team now into this group. This is the Henjiang cycling team, and this is the team of Jianpeng Liu. And he is getting into this break with the attempt of trying to pick up the time bonus. And the rider now from Delco Marseille is remonstrating with them, saying, if you guys are in the break, the chase will be on and we don't stand a chance. Get used to it. It's racing. It's their opportunity to try and take the red jersey for the best Chinese rider. No point complaining. They've got their objectives. Get on with your own race. Which is exactly what Ben Hill is doing. So too Keegan Schwerbel. The riders from the Henjiang team are more than entitled to get into the breakaway. In fact, their team strategy should be to get in the breakaway. Again, though, it's been closed down pretty quickly. That looks like Abdi Michael from the Eritrean team, trying to get himself into the breakaway. Back in the peloton, Vallet has been riding with real confidence, but he is desperate to get a stage victory. Number 26 just going through the picture, that's Tyler Williams. He finished in second position in the first of the intermediate sprints. With that team no longer having their normal sprinter, Edwin Avila, in the race, Williams will get the protected role as the sprinter from the team by the looks of it this afternoon. It will either be him or Itamar Einhorn. But Williams, based on that first intermediate sprint, could be the better option this afternoon. Einhorn has been good in the stage finishes, but he doesn't quite have the same level of experience as Tyler Williams. Number 66, this is Valiquez, Hugo Valiquez, the Argentinian on the American United Healthcare team. Looks like Ben Hill and Keegan Schwerbel have been swapping notes before the stage starts each day. Let's get ourselves into the breakaway. I'll meet you up the road. Good call at the front. You could see the hand signal from the Eritrean rider, just making that circle work type motion. Let's all work together. The Eritreans have been so aggressive throughout the race, and their sprinter, Natnil Festizon, has been very good. Tesfazion, I should say. He's been impressive. It's my first chance to see him race, and Tesfazion has had a couple of top 10 finishes already. Yesterday was his best, finishing in 4th position. It's a chance to take a look at the Buddha statue, a statue that is 3 in 1. The Buddha statues of medicine, sunlight, and moonlight. Meanwhile, down the back of the peloton, you can see the way these riders are just rolling along. They're hardly touching the pedals at all. There's the white bike that you just spotted of Marechko, the convincing winner of yesterday's stage, the green jersey now of Milano. They're not worried about the breakaways. They're sitting in the comfort of the peloton and just getting dragged along in the slipstream. On a day like this, when you are sitting behind somebody, because it's so fast, the amount of energy you need to expend sitting in second position by comparison to first position, it's estimated to be around about 30% less. And look at the comfort of Boris Vallet. Sitting behind him is Sergio Higuita from the Manzana Postobon team. Higuita has been pretty handy from the Manzana Postobon team. He speaks the best English of that squad and has been very generous with his time before each of the stages. We've done quite a few interviews with the Colombian. Vallet has spoken about his desire to not just win this race overall, defend that orange jersey, but to win one of the individual stages. It's been 2.5 seasons since he's had a victory. His last win was a stage at the Tour of Bologna in Belgium. True to his word, Hill has been in everything. He spoke before the stage and said he was going to try and get in the breakaway. Nice to see the colours of the Manzana Postobon team at the front of the peloton today. The past few stages they've been sitting back, letting the others do the chasing. Perhaps one of the more experienced members of either the Wanty Group Goubert team or Willia Trestina had a word to them. You've got a favourite, come to the front, pull your weight, do some pacemaking. Today they are.
Mon pote, faut être clair dans tes ordres. À un moment donné, ça va. Putain. Sérieux. Oh. T'as pas de shot, t'as pas de...
Breakaway group of 4 working really well together, but still not able to build up much of an advantage at all on the main peloton. What really works against them is that the road is dead straight, the peloton can see them the whole time, then they have the 180-degree U-turn at the top end of each lap, and that gives the peloton a chance to really assess how big is the time gap, how well are those guys working together, and then they can measure their effort accordingly. 163. Tom Hubbard still at the back. The Kiwi. He was warming up before the stage got underway, was enthusiastic to try and get into the early breakaway, but crashed within 50 metres of the start of the stage. Unfortunately for Tom, no one to blame but himself. Look forward to hearing the explanation from Tom Hubbard as to exactly what did happen. Cedric Tesfon in this break for Eritrea. They would have liked more climbing in this race, the Eritrean team. But they're getting plenty of opportunities, plenty of exposure to world cycling now as the sport of cycling in Eritrea is going from strength to strength. They've had Daniel Teklahamanot wear the King of the Mountains jersey at the Tour de France. They had their national champion Mahawi Kudos really have a strong presence in the Volta a España this year. As for the Colombians, they've been a really strong presence in both this race and any race that they're at. Inside the last 40 kilometres, the breakaway group of 4, they can't have an advantage of much more than 8 or 9, perhaps 10 seconds. Enough though for Keegan Schwerbel with the black helmet on to think, time to have a little bite to eat. Fishing isn't simply a pastime, it's a way of life. So too is the food culture of Shenyang. With shed plates, a staple of the local cuisine, mealtime brings people together and makes the community stronger. And one of the local specialties is preserved duck eggs. Let's now take a look at the stage so far. The gun went, as is always the case, to get them underway. And straight away, it was St. George Continental Cycling Team with Tom Hubbard that was trying to break away as soon as the riders were clipping their pedals in, but he had a little bit of a slip, tangled himself up, and unfortunately for Hubbard, he hit the deck on his own. Clearly, he wasn't the first rider or the only rider in the race to have intentions of trying to force that early breakaway. Cormac McGough was also amongst them. Here's a look at it. A little bit of a slip of the gears by the look of it for Tom Hubbard, and that just sent him flying over the top of the handlebars. His team manager, team owner, Brett Dutton, pushing him away. This was the first of the intermediate sprints. Dylan Kennett got himself on the wheel of Tyler Williams, and Kennett, the winner of the opening prologue, wasn't even sprinting out of the saddle. It was just raw horsepower to win that intermediate sprint ahead of then Tyler Williams, and the overall race leader, Boris Valet, was in third position, gaining another 1 second time bonus. In terms of what that does now for the general classification, Boris Valet leads the race by 13 seconds, ahead of Ben Dybel and Alexander Cataford. For Kennett, that will boost his confidence when it comes to the final sprint, looking for the stage victory. Perhaps a little bit of a test run for the New Zealander. Those riders also collecting 5 points at least for the winner in the race for the green jersey. This was a fall at the back of the peloton. Surprisingly for the Spanish sprinter, it was Danny Lopez who went down. Looked like an innocuous little touch of wheels. No bones broken. Managed to pick himself back up, and Lopez has returned to the main field. Just moments ago, breakaway group forming off the front. Keegan Schwerbel and Ben Hill once again amongst it. It's now a break of 4 riders off the front with just a handful of seconds up their sleeve. The 3 Buddhas once again. The statues of medicine, sunlight and moonlight. Huge calming influence throughout China, particularly in this region. If it's on the agenda for a visit when you do come to China, it's a pretty simple drive from Shanghai. Just around about 2.5 to 3 hours to get to this point in Zhanyang. And the roads are in great condition. Lots of urban development. The infrastructure is ever improving. High-speed trains as well, scattered throughout China. A wonderful way to see the country. Just as we saw yesterday in Jinhu, water plays a very big part as well. We saw lots of the lotus flowers throughout yesterday's stage. A few of them still scattered throughout this region as well. We're not too much further down the road from Jinhu. This looks like a lovely water park throughout the summer months to be able to come and enjoy with the family. And through the finish line once again, it looks as if that breakaway group of 4 that was off the front moments ago has been reeled back in. Manzana Polsterbon in the pink colours, 36 kilometres remaining, controlling affairs. You can hear the clunking of the gears and the carbon wheels as they accelerate out of that corner. And down through the feed zone, not too many biddens being collected, gives us a real appreciation for just how fast they're moving. This is Itamar Einhorn once again at the front, the blue and white colours of the Israel Cycling Academy. Qinghai Tianju team trying to get themselves off the front. Likewise with the St. George Continental cycling team. Another reaction coming from Jelly Belly, and on this occasion it's their Mexican sprinter. This is Ulises Castillo, who is trying to go across to this breakaway group. No real breakaway, being able to get more than a 10-second advantage throughout today's stage. This road surface is pristine, the course is flat, there's hardly any wind. It's a sprinter's paradise. Peloton strung out, touching on 47 to 48 kilometres per hour. Jiangyan is a city that is undergoing rapid urban development. It has a strong economy, the population is growing, along with it is an increase in office buildings and shopping malls, and the town is on the rise. Great tourist destination as well. There's plenty to be able to see, to come and enjoy with the family. This is known as the overseas Chinese town. It's got lots of spas, pools to be able to enjoy, and this has seen an investment of 2.5 billion yuan. Part of the Jin Lake National Wetland Park as well. And there is the famous Buddha statue off in the distance. Also an area that has hosted one of the Asian Cup races in the triathlon calendar. They do love this sport, and it has hosted the Women Go Championships, which is kind of a variety of checkers and chess. Again, small group trying to slip off the front inside the last 35 kilometres. I'll flicker the elbow from Ryan Kavanagh to try and encourage the next rider to come through. The Israel Cycling Academy, the blue and white colours, they've been aggressive early in the stage. We saw lots of attacks, particularly coming from Nathan Earl. And Jelly Belly, likewise, they've also been super aggressive. It's Ulises Castillo, now who goes through to the front. Castillo crashed yesterday, but it looked as if the Mexican was made of rubber. As soon as he hit the deck, he was back up on his feet, remounting the bike, no time for complaining, chasing and getting back onto the peloton. It was a great show of resilience. There was no time to complain, just get on with the job at hand. Back down through the peloton, the white jersey 143. That is Bouglas, the Greek sprinter, and he is already marking the orange jersey of Boris Vallet. He's been impressive, Georges Bouglas. He had a stage win this year at the Tour of Taihu Lake. He was third on stage 1. He finished in 10th place yesterday. The form looks good. This is Max Moncassin at the front of the peloton doing the pacemaking. Giuseppe Fonzi just behind him, the man who wins the title, the best name in the peloton at this year's Tour of Taihu Lake. Fonzi with the beard. He's got lots of experience. He's ridden the Giro d'Italia a few times. This is Marco Minard. Next in line is Jasper de Leet, followed through by Kevin Van Mallison. And then it is the Colombians. They're kind of contributing. That's Suaza. It's the first of the riders in the pink colours. Then it's Mark McNally, who's already conceded. He's keen to get home to the family. He became a father just 2 weeks ago. The wave, that was from Osorio, number 34, and he is protecting the green jersey of Juan Sebastian Milano. Milano's teammate, Higueta, spoke to us before the stage got underway and said that Milano is not interested in the green jersey. He's not going to go chasing the intermediate sprint points. He's just going to focus on trying to win stages. The rider who is behind him with the beard, number 35, that is Jordan Parra. If things don't work out for Milano, Parra himself is a very fast sprinter. A little bit of a chat from Boris Valet. His teammate is just out of picture, but that's who he'll be chatting to. Just going past him was Okamoto, one of the riders from the Nippo Vini Fantini team. Okamoto's been pretty good. He's on a stagiaire role here at this race, which is basically a long format job interview. 3 months at the end of the season with the team to see if the team want to sign him for next year. This is Queen Lake Ocean World, which is one of the marine themed parks that we have in this region. They've got 3 various themes that they have throughout the park: integrated marine life, and there's also some educational activities to do as well, with a theatre that is in there to show quite a few of the shows and educate the kids whilst entertaining them. Zhejiang really developing itself as a hotbed, as a tourist destination. This is the U-turn at the top end of the circuit. So when they go through the finish line next time around, as they head down towards it now, they're less than 6 kilometres to go, or around about 6 kilometres before they hit that finish line. That will be the second of the intermediate sprints. I wonder whether the Wanty Group Goubert team are keen enough to chase down that breakaway, so Boris Valet can get himself involved in that sprint once again and try and pick up another time bonus. He holds on to a 13-second lead in the overall classification. In second position is Ben Dybel, who is a non-sprinter. Dybel is a pure climber. And this, much to my surprise, in fact, is Tyler Williams off the front. Matthew Zenovich is the rider from St. George Continental Cycling Team. Castillo is the man who was there for the Jelly Belly team. Williams was sprinting really well earlier today. He finished in second position in the first of the intermediate sprints. Now he has himself off the front. In terms of his position in the general classification, Williams sits at now 20 seconds behind the orange jersey. And that is enough to have Williams sitting inside the top 10. In fact, he's in 6th position. And the time bonus today has moved himself up into 5th place. So Williams off the front, looking to try and collect more of those time bonuses, and perhaps he doesn't fancy himself enough as a sprinter, so he's decided, let's get in the break and see if I can pick up that time bonus and consolidate a position inside the top 5. Smart riding by the American. Matthew Zenovich, the man behind him, the Kiwi, who was the winner this year of the Tour de Siak in Indonesia, where the St. George Continental Cycling Team completely dominated. They finished 1st, 2nd, 3rd and 4th overall. Zenovich also performed well here in the Tour of Taihu Lake last year when he finished in 9th position. Castillo working well at the front. The rider for the Jelly Belly team who came to this race as their protected man for the sprint finishes. This is Liao in the red colours, the leader of the best Chinese rider classification. It's a small advantage. It's only 2 seconds. For Liao, he would be happy for that break to stay off the front, so the time bonuses go up the road, and that prevents his main rival, Jianpeng Liu, being able to pick up any of those bonuses and taking that red jersey away. But the 3 leaders, they may not quite make it. And Boris Valet, if these 3 leaders, they do get caught, Boris Valet will most definitely participate in this intermediate sprint. And for Milano and Marechko, that's good news for them. Neither of those riders have shown any interest in the intermediate sprints. And then Valet contesting those sprints, he wastes energy that's not there for the end of the stage. Meanwhile, Marechko and Milano sit comfortably in the peloton, They don't have any of those extra accelerations, and they're ever so slightly fresher for the stage finish. The Henjiang team, though, they're moving up the outside. Here they come now in the red and the white colours. This is Meng Yan, who is leading them. Next in line is Bo Wang. Number 91, that's the rider that they're protecting. That is Jianpeng Liu. He's the rider that they're hoping can win this intermediate sprint, which would move him into the red jersey as the leading Chinese rider in the race. Voskalns is the big Latvian rider who is on that team, and he will be the most important rider on that team for Liu to be able to get the time bonus. He's much bigger than Liu, so provides a huge slipstream, and he did the lead out also on stage 1 for the other sprinter on that team, Zhang. So he plays the key role, if they catch these three, to be able to collect those points. Zenovic not happy with his breakaway companions, trying to go on his own. Castillo is responding. Williams is just out of the slipstream. And it looks as if Williams will surrender back to the peloton, but Zenovic is throwing everything into it, and he's opened up the advantage ever so slightly. And there's the orange jersey. Now with a couple of teammates leading him through. Wesley Creeder once again is the rider who is directly in front of him. He is the key lead-out man. And then you can see number 126 just sitting behind him. That is Ziga Ruchegaj, one of the Slovenian riders in the race. He wants to test his sprinting legs, but they've got some work to do to be able to bring the 24-year-old Kiwi here, Matthew Zenovic, back to heel. Riding a huge gear, turning this into a time trial. It looks like a gym session out on the bike based on the size of the gear that's been used by Zenovic. But look at the comfort at the back of the peloton with the riders just sitting in the slipstream. Off the front, Zenovic, he sees no other option for himself. He sits at 1 minute and 2 seconds behind. He can't win in a sprint finish, and looking to make some sort of an impact on the race as a man who finished in 9th position overall here last year. He cannot maintain this tempo for the next 25.8 kilometres. And attacking his two former breakaway companions is further going to damage his chances. And maybe he just wants the points. 1 kilometre to the sprint, and he just wants the pride, I think, of collecting the points at this intermediate sprint. Fair enough too. He spent a fair time off the front, and you can see off to the side the yellow board with the green jersey, 1 kilometre to the intermediate sprint point. It's a battle for pride off the front for Zenovic. And what an impressive job he's been doing, opening up the gap on the peloton, but the reactions are now starting to come. Hengjian team doing a lot of the work now at the front, the red and white colours. This is for Jianpeng Liu. They tried at the first intermediate sprint, and Liu finished in 6th position. They're really starting to wind it up now. And it is the big Latvian, Voskalns, who is at the front doing the job. Liu just needs to wait patiently and sit the wheels. Now it's Wanty Group Goubert. Creeder is at the front. Valet in the orange jersey looking for the points. This is Chima now who's also coming forward, but Valet, will he get any points? No, he won't. It looks as if he'll miss out. As it's Kennett once again who gets there. Valet in fact across the line in 3rd position. Chima it was in 2nd spot. So Kennett showing some very good legs. Another 1 second time bonus though for the overall race leader. And now immediately after that intermediate sprint, this is the time to attack. The pace has been on, the legs are a little juicy. It's an opportunity to get off the fronts. And from one New Zealander of Zenovic off the front, the next rider to go through was Hamish Schuters, the Kiwi on the Israel Cycling Academy team. But he has also been reeled back in. So Dylan Kennett, 2 from 2 at the intermediate sprints, showing that he has plenty of horsepower. And for the second time today, Boris Valet in 3rd spot. And now the Manzana Postobon team with one rider going off the front. Bernardo Suaza, by the looks of it, is the rider who has broken away from the peloton. Certainly means that the rest of the team, they don't have to do any of the pacemaking at the front. They can save the lead-out train of Milano for the all-important final few kilometres. And we saw by how quickly Zenovic got reeled in inside that last kilometre for the intermediate sprint, how dramatically it can change in the final 1,000 metres. And timing all important for the sprint. Today, the sprint finished the slightest of headwinds. Not quite as strong as what we saw yesterday, but Marechko yesterday showed all of his experience with the headwind finish and just waited and waited. Milano went early, Valet also went early, and Marechko, once they'd faded, blitzed on by for a magnificent win. Bernardo Suaza off the front, still got a little bit of the damage on the right knee from a fall that he'd had earlier on. In fact, the fall was before coming to this race, the Tour of Taihu Lake. He had bandages on throughout the prologue, so the injuries are recovering well. China is known as a country of innovation, and the city of Jianyang is playing a significant role. It's the home of the new material industrial park and, importantly for the health of the community, a base for medical research. Back with the race, just on 21.8 kilometres remaining. There's been multiple attempts for breakaways to go off the front, none of them having succeeded to build up a lead of anywhere more than 10 seconds. This is Suaza, the Colombian from the Manzana Postobon team. We've been through the first intermediate sprints and the second one just a couple of moments ago. This is a look at it. The rider that you see in the pink colours on the right-hand side, that's Zenovic, who was off the front, just getting reeled back in. Then it was Wanty-Group Goubert laying down the foundations for Boris Valet in the orange jersey to take another time bonus. Jimmer from Nippo Vini Fantini getting his nose in front. And then Kennett in the pink colours on the left, showing everybody that he's more than just a time trialist. The winner of the opening prologue, making it 2 from 2 in the intermediate sprints today. And Kennett with the composure and the time to kick the clutch in before he goes across the line, checking across the shoulder. How you like them apples, he says to the rest of the peloton. Time bonus and also points in the race for the green jersey. So Kennett collects 5 more points in the race for green, 3 for Chimmer and another 1 point for Boris Valet. So not only now is Boris Valet extending his lead in the race for the all-important orange jersey, he's also extending his lead in the battle for the green jersey. This is Suaza. Just a little bit of the rocking and rolling of the hips, but he looks smooth. And Dylan Kennett today in the green jersey classification has picked himself up 10 points so far today, which moves him up into 6th position in that classification. couldn't possibly be Ben Hill again, is it, that's trying to come across? No, it's one of his teammates. Ben Hill is easy to spot because the way his handlebars, he has the brake levers pointing inwards to try and improve his aerodynamics. This time, into the breakaway, it is Maciej Grozjal, who was in the breakaway on stage 1 and has been super aggressive throughout the race. Bernardo Suaza not entirely waiting for him, but a little quick look across the shoulder, and the Colombian decides, yeah, 2's better than 1. But the chase is on. Giuseppe Fonzi swings off from the front for Willie Trestina. Next up, it's Max Moncassin. And the riders in the black and pink colours from St. George Continental Cycling Team, their confidence will be building. Dylan Kennett coming into this race as a learning experience. The team believed he could win the opening prologue, and he did so with an average speed of more than 53 kilometres per hour. So the horsepower is underneath the bonnets. But trying to find the right position in the sprints, that's been more challenging. He's been able to win the 2 minute sprint so far, but they're a lot less complicated than what the final sprint will be. In the final sprint, all of a sudden, instead of sprinting against 4 or 5 guys, you have to add into the mix the fastest riders in the race. Murechko, who hasn't participated in any of the intermediate sprints, likewise with Milano, and also Buglas, he becomes a factor as well. So things will change in that last sprint. And for Dylan Kennett to be able to challenge to win the stage, he really is going to need his team. The aerial shot tells the story of the corner and the benefit of being at the front. You could see how much quicker the front of the peloton was able to exit that U-turn. Meanwhile, at the back of the peloton, they had all bunched up and then they string out in single file as the speed difference going around the corner from the front by comparison to the back, it's roughly 5 kilometres per hour. So at the back of the race, they're much harder on the pedals, being able to get up to that bunch speed. If you are stuck at the rear of the peloton, one of the strategies that's often used is just to lay off a little bit, take a bit of a run up at them. Inside the last 18 kilometres. Next time they go through the finish line, they will hear the bell. It will be music to the ears of the sprinters, particularly Jakob Murechko. We saw yesterday from Murechko when he won the stage just how important this race is to him. He's now won 16 stages throughout his career in this race. As we see the last of the riders from that little breakaway get caught. This is Maciej Grozjal. The emotion of Murechko overflowed yesterday with that stage win. It had been a frustrating first few days of racing. He's got his mojo back, and today he is the man to beat. Number 4, keep your eye on Lopez. He's got a teammate with him. That's Gonzalez, number 3, that's sitting just behind him. He needs to be brought up to the front of the peloton, perhaps in around about 10 kilometres, maybe less. They'd like to get him towards the front with 10 Ks to go. This is the easy way to improve your position in the peloton. Just drift up alongside them. Start to see the lead-out trains now getting organised as well. The same coloured jerseys, all riding up alongside each other. And the riders that you see with the red, blue and the yellow, that's the Beijing XDS team. They've got an outside chance today. Andrei Kulik, the Ukrainian sprinter on that team, he finished in 5th position yesterday and was looking pretty good. The 29-year-old, he joined the team midway through the season. They've haven't had any wins from him so far since he's joined the team, but he did finish in 3rd place on one of the stages in the Tour of China just recently. So the form for Kulik is good.
Okay.
There's the green jersey. Molano moving a lot closer to the front now. We've seen the footage of the green jersey up until this point has all been from Moto 3 down at the back of the peloton, just relaxing. It's time to stop relaxing and switch into serious race mode. Giuseppe Fonzi still at the front, still setting the tempo for Willia Trestina. There's no breakaway. So Willia Trestina at this point, along with the Wanty Group Goubert team, just want to set a tempo that tries to prevent anybody else from being able to break away. There are clear signs of the growing economy everywhere you look in Zhanyan. New buildings, both apartment blocks and office buildings, many new residential areas as well, with modern building designs sitting alongside the great heritage of the region. This is the famous medicine Buddha statue, which brings together the Buddhas of medicine, sunlight and also moonlight. Stands at some 36 meters tall, and it's not light, weighing in at some 400 tons. It is the highest medicine Buddha statue in the world. Huge influence of Buddhism throughout this region of the country, and it does create an air of peace and tranquility. We certainly saw that throughout yesterday's stage as we made our way through the hometown of Emperor Yao. Peloton now strung out in single file, coming down towards the final lap. They'll get the bell shortly on stage 4 of the Tour of Taihu Lake. Zhanyang Rural Commercial Bank Circuit. This road surface is frightfully good. It will make the sprint really quick. At the end of the stage today, the stage winner will need to hit speeds of more than 70 kilometers per hour. And the pink colours of Manzana Postobon, they're not doing the pacemaking now. They're smartly just sitting back. They've been very shrewd with how they've been spending their resources. Other way to describe it is cold-blooded. They've been letting the Wanty Group Goubert and the Willia Trestina team do most of the pacemaking, but that's all part of the sport. You choose your strategy, try and implement it. So far, with the man in the green jersey, the leader of the points classification, it's worked to perfection. The bearded smiling Nathan Earl. This is Lozano with the beard as well from the Novo Nordisk team. The Eritreans also trying to make their way up to the front. Natniel Tesfazion is the rider that has been outstanding from that squad. 4th on the stage yesterday. And Dylan Kennett, just spotted him on the right-hand side of the picture. He's got the white shoes, the black and dark pinkish kit on. A few teammates around him from the St. George Continental Cycling team. He's won both of the intermediate sprints so far. This is a little problem for somebody at the Israel Cycling Academy team with some medical assistance. Throughout yesterday's stage, at the end of the stage actually, one of the riders from that team, Edwin Avila, who had been disqualified at the conclusion of stage 2, was standing in the car park watching, anxiously excited, just like any other spectator. Like the look of this from the Eritreans. You can see the red and the yellow colours. They've got the lead-out train all sorted out. All 6 of the riders coming towards the front, and rightly so. They've got full confidence in Natniel Tesfazion. It's a smart move by the Eritreans to get to the front relatively early, but the trick is to be near the front without being directly on the front, as we see now with Giuseppe Fonzi. The Willia Trestina team of Jacob Moretzko, they've got a little bit more horsepower, a little bit more firepower on a flat stage like this than what the Eritrean national team does. So they're spending the energy of 2 of their riders, then they'll save a few for the lead-outs. One to go, 12.3 kilometres. Giuseppe Fonzi led them through on that occasion. He'll be hoping that it's his teammate Marechko the next time through. And Marechko is still sitting the midway point of the peloton. Everyone through that corner safely. 1 lap remaining. All the team cars off to one side of the road, the peloton heading down the other side of the road. A real chance for the sports directors in those team cars to take a look across, see the position of the riders on their team, and give instructions accordingly. It's time to get to the front. The light blue colours that you see down near the bottom of the screen, that is the Dalco Marseille Provence KTM squad. That's the team of Yannick Martinez. Martinez coming towards the back end of his career. His older brother, Miguel Martinez, was one of the great mountain bikers of his generation, the key rival for Cadel Evans when they raced against each other on the dirts. Still Manzana Postobon waiting patiently. Now in the black and pink colours with the white helmet on, this is Ben Dybel. Dybel is the rider who sits in second position overall, but behind him, now in the centre of picture, that's Dylan Kennett. Dybel is prepared to work for Kennett to see if Kennett can get the stage victory. The orange jersey, Boris Valet, looking so comfortable. Still sitting on the brake levers. No need just as yet for Valet to get super aerodynamic and onto the drops. Keeping a little in reserve. Ready to kick in the afterburners. And this stretch of the road, they have a tailwind. Not particularly strong, but it will make it nigh on impossible for any breakaway to go at this point. There's been quite a few breakaways throughout the stage, but none of them getting more than around about a 10-second advantage. Little artistic in the rear view mirror. There's the Eritreans nearest the picture. They've been riding really well, trying to set up the sprint finish for Tez Fazion. Number 26, Tyler Williams. Number 56 going through the picture, that is Charles Planet. Focus there, you can see the red jersey, that is Vincent Liao, the leader of the best Chinese rider classification. Meanwhile, down the back, 105, Keegan Swerble. He's tried a few times to get off the front. Doesn't like his chances in the sprint finish, so breakaway didn't work. Pop the clutch in, save myself for tomorrow. I'm sure we'll see Keegan Swerble off the front throughout tomorrow's stage. Whether it's the breakaway that is the break of the day or not, that not so sure. But what I am certain of is that Keegan Swerble will try to be in that break. Jianyang has an abundance of water, and with it comes the beautiful water lilies and lotus flowers. Kingtong Old Town is another popular spot, preserving the past and educating generations to come. One consistency across the region is world-class tea houses. No more opportunities for the breakaway now. 9.2 kilometres remaining on the fourth stage in this, the 9th edition of the Tour of Taihu Lake. This is a sprinter's paradise. 8 laps around the circuit, a smidgen more than 12 kilometres per lap. The peloton, they've heard the bell. The sprinters are poised. Number 82, this is Giuseppe Fonzi. Behind him is Max Moncassin. And then next in line, that's Monsalve, trying to get involved for the Qinghai team. They've been a little quiet so far. They haven't quite got themselves in the mix for any top 5 finishes on stages. But now's a pretty good time to get started. Number 4 sitting all the way down the back, that's Lopez. He's been very good in the sprint finishes, but he fell at the midway point on the stage. It's not a good sign that he's still sitting down towards the back. Perhaps he won't be contesting the sprint this time through. Bit of conversation And it looked as if Giuseppe Fonzi looked across to Monsalve from the Qinghai team and asked the question, what are you doing here? They haven't been up at the front for any of the sprint finishes so far, but they're well entitled to get in amongst the action. And with this wide road, the dual carriageway, there's plenty of opportunities for any of the sprinters who are caught ever so slightly out of position to still move up towards the front. You can just spot those fluoro colours on the right-hand side of the peloton, the midway point down. One of those is Jakub Mareczko. The second in line, he's got a teammate who's trying to take him up the inside, which is the side that's slightly more protected from the wind. Inside 8 kilometres to go, and Mareczko is yet to be anywhere near the front. Moncusson, his teammate, setting the pace at the front. Moncusson's father, Frédéric Moncusson, was one of the leading French sprinters of the 1990s. A dual stage winner, in fact, in the Tour de France in 1996. Eritreans with the yellow and red colours trying to get themselves organised for Natnel Tesfazion. Monsalve on the front. More of a climber, Monsalve, so doing the pacemaking for others. He was a winner last year, the Tour of Taihu Lake, so he's had plenty of success himself in the past here in China. 1-4-3 in the white colours, Bourglas. He can't sit back here for too much longer. He's got a couple of teammates around him, or perhaps he's going to feed off the riders from the Burgos BH team just in front of him. This is Gabriel Pons, number 5. A rider who was in this race as a stagiaire, so he's another one of the riders who's just on loan to the team to see whether they want to keep him on a permanent basis. The orange jersey of Valet hasn't put a hair out of place so far today, but there's a problem for the Eritreans. I just saw 2 feet out on the left-hand side of the road, and one of the riders from that squad has had a mechanical problem. And this is not good news because it's Tesfazion, number 195, Natnel Tesfazion, the man that they've been working for, who's had a front wheel puncher, and waiting to assist him is Habdi Michael, who's not just playing the role of team helper, he's also the team mechanic. But for Tesfazion, this is no good. The speed is just way too high with 6.4 kilometres to go. He'll be able to get into the convoy of cars, but to stand any chance, he needs his entire team to stop and wait for him. Not quite going to be the case. That is disappointing. The team that had not put a foot wrong. The first puncher that we've seen all day, and it comes with just on 6 kilometres to race, and it's for the key sprinter of the Eritrean national team. That is disappointing. So for the Eritreans now, they need to turn their attention to Jacob Debesay. He's the next best sprinter from that team. Wanty Group Goubert with the tempo at the front. The puncher to the Eritrean, that is irrelevant to them. They're just getting on with the job of protecting the overall race leader. Boris Valet, he's hiding in there somewhere in the orange jersey. And there you can see the black and yellow colours. Lubajana Gusto, they're moving forward. Ziga German is the sprinter that they're working for. He's had a couple of top 10 finishes so far, Ziga German. One of the younger riders on the team. A winner earlier on this year, the under-23 Ghent-Wavergem, which is a really important race in Belgium. And the Burgos BH team, the whites and red colours on the left. Perhaps Lopez has found his legs and starting to fight his way up towards the fronts. You can see how quick the road surface is here. Trains of teams getting organised, moving around on the left and the right-hand side. The pink colours on the left, Manzana Postobon. It's a dangerous spot to be at this point because Milano can potentially get boxed in. There's the green jersey, just trying to squeeze his way forward. Everybody breathe in, I'm coming on through. The whole cliche at this point, if you're not moving forward, you're going backwards. You can so easily get swamped. It's the washing machine effect. Still Fonzi at the front. Slipping off the front. A move by the Ljubljana Gusto team. And it's Maciej Grozjal who is trying to go off the front. Reaction coming from Delco Marseille. This might just upset the lead-out trains ever so slightly, and a smart move. You can see the blue colours of Dalco Marseille. One rider going off the front, the other one slipping into second position of the peloton. That is to try and disrupt the chasing. Max Moncusson, though, at the front for Willia Trestina. He's wise to that old trick. Keeps on setting the tempo. And the shuffling of the cards back in the peloton. It's getting willing. There's a little bit of rubbing of shoulders. Moncusson doing a brilliant job closing things down. This is the sort of performance that will get Moncusson a permanent contract with the Willia Trestina team. The little break of 2 is almost done with 3.7 kilometres still to race. And all the damage from the main peloton has been done by Max Moncusson. The men in pink all lined up. Manzana Postobon doing a brilliant job riding in support of the green jersey of Milano. Veloci of Dalco Marseille still trying, but he's now caught. The race is all together. Moncusson, finally it's time to swing off. As soon as the break has been caught, just another little turn of pace to maintain the momentum for the sprinters, and Moncusson goes hard right, completely gets out of the way and makes sure that he does not interrupt the sprints. Most importantly, the progress of his team leader, Murechko. The Eritreans, great maturity. They've lost Tesfazion with that front wheel puncher. They're turning their attention now to Debussy. Kulik, he's got the elbows out. You can see the red on the shoulders with the yellow, white and blue from the Beijing XDS team. That's Andre Tulik, making sure he's got a little bit of space to move around at the front of the race. Number 82, Moncusson. In fact, 82 is Fonzie. He's now at the back for the Willia Trestina team, having done his job. And you can see the way the wind is coming now from the right-hand side of the riders. That's why they've often been pushing into the left-hand gutter to reduce the amount of protection for the riders behind them. The 2 young Frenchmen now from Dalco Marseille at the front. It's Robin Mayer and Remy Rocher trying to up the tempo for their sprinter, Yannick Martinez. The 2 22-year-olds at the front for the French squad. They've been close with Martinez a few times. And the darker blue colours of the United Healthcare team, surely this is in the interest of Alexander Cataford, the man who sits in equal second place at 14 seconds behind the orange jersey of Boris Vallet. And scanning the peloton, looking for Vallet. He's just been caught in a little bit of traffic. The man in the pink colours, Manzana Postobon, still looking calm, still sitting the slipstreams, still waiting. Just spotted Dylan Kennett, and he appears to be a little isolated. He's got one teammate there to support him. Kennett sits behind the men in the navy blue colours of United Healthcare. He's got himself well positioned. He's getting pushed out of the way, though. There's a few hands coming off the handlebars. That was Parra that was trying to slip through. Parra is the rider in pink sitting behind the green jersey of Milano. He's plan B for Manzana Postobon. If Milano doesn't have the legs, it's Parra to do the job. And he was just pushing Kennett out of the way. Willia Trestina on force at the front of the peloton. The speed really ramping up. They're going early because it is so quick. They're up above 50 kilometres per hour, 1 kilometre remaining, and it's getting just a little bit messy. There's no cohesive lead out. Manzana Postobon now having to take responsibility. Milano is already up in a 3rd position. Parra is fighting again, this time with Tulik. He gets onto the wheel of Milano. He's got himself in a good spot. Kreda now, he's on the right. Behind him is the orange jersey, the race leader, Boris Vallet. Still looking for Murechko, who's on his own, ducking through the traffic and gets up onto the wheel of Martinez. He still sits in around about 15th spots. Milano is doing the lead outs. He's trying to support Parra to get the stage victory. The green jersey has sacrificed. It's Parra now who opens up. Kennett blasting through. He's 1-2 intermediate sprints. Chimmer is coming. Kennett is holding. The prologue winner, he makes it 2. The winner of the opening day. He won the 2 intermediate sprints. He now wins the stage. Phenomenal performance by Dylan Kennett. What a win. That was extraordinary. Bonifacio it was in second position. Lopez got up for third. Marechko into fourth. Velosi in fifth. And the Manzana Postobon team left to scratch their head. They backed the wrong horse. Para finished in ninth. Here's a look at the overhead shots. Milano in green doing the lead out for Para. After having had the support of Para to take him to 2-stage victories, he wanted to try and return the favour. But with this slight headwind, just as the Manzana Postobon team did yesterday, they went a fraction too early. Then it was Bonifacio and Kennett going toe-to-toe, and Kennett showing all that horsepower that took him to success in the opening prologue, getting the victory. And there is Marechko on the left with that nose on the front wheel style of his. Super aerodynamic, but Kennett comfortably in the end. That is the biggest win on the road in the career of Dylan Kennett. Yes, he won the prologue in this race. That was expected. This was just meant to be part of the learning process. How was he able to race in the big bunt sprints? Well, good enough to win. 2-stage victories and second overall. What a race it's been from St. George Continental. Oh, that was very good by St. George Continental. The rider all smiles, kind of looking at the picture with his earpiece flapping in the breeze. That's Ben Dybel. This is Kennett. Next to him is Morgan Smith, now just patting him on the back. A team victory indeed. They didn't have the big lead-out train, but they did support him well throughout the stage. And there was the risk that Kennett was spending a little bit too much energy by winning both the intermediate sprints, but no such concerns. And I really thought that perhaps with that extra traffic around him, as a rider that has considered himself, he's still learning about riding the big pelotons, thought that might have gotten the better of him. Not the case at all. Simply too strong. Number 41 that you just saw talking to the team car, that was Leonardo Bonifacio, who finished in second position on the stage. Marechko from Willia Trestina, his team, they did an outstanding job, but Marechko himself, he didn't really take full advantage of the lead-out train. He just let his teammates chase down the breakaways and tried to freelance off the other riders in the peloton, got caught in traffic. Another successful day though for this man, Boris Valet. He did not place in the top 3 on today's stage, so no time bonuses there. In fact, he finished in 10th position on the stage today, but he did finish in 3rd place in both of the intermediate sprints. This now going across the finish line from Eritrea is Hebdi Michael. He was the rider that gave his wheel to Tez Fazion just inside 6 kilometres to go. The 3 Buddha statue, medicine, sunlight and moonlight. Really cohesive unit, the Eritrean team. It was just an instantaneous reaction from Daniel Hebdi Michael to give his front wheel over to his teammate Tez Fazion. And a lot to be happy about for number 164, the stage winner, Dylan Kennett. And just in front of him is 205. That's Liao, the leader of the red jersey classification, as the best Chinese rider in the race. Down through the team cars, looking for the team manager, Brett Dutton, who will be beside himself with joy. A project rider effectively for the team. And Kennett is getting full marks. There's Dutton. Not showing it, but I'm sure he's bubbling away inside. Education of the younger generations is a high priority here in Jiangyan, a city building a bright future for its young. Leading the way is the Jiangyan Middle School of Jiangyan Province and the Jiangyan Professional High School. The moment of joy and jubilation for Dylan Kennett. Different kind of experience winning a road stage by comparison to the prologue that he won on the opening day of racing. Let's now get down to the winner, Dylan Kennett.
Dylan, this must mean a lot to you to get the sprint win today. Your first real road stage victory.
Yeah, no, it's really awesome. I like the look of the run to the finish, nice and straight. I said to the boys today, if there's ever going to be a day, today's the day, and they worked real well, and they were turns that helped me each sprint, and then Morgs positioned me beautifully for the last one, and I just had to step out, 200 to go, and it's all done. Yeah.
Must be super happy with the team performance today. Everyone was all in.
Yeah, no, it was great. It was great. Like the boys just want, we just want to win, and and today it showed like the great teamwork, and because not only to look after me, but to look after Ben as well. He's sitting second on GC, and it's great to pull it off. Yeah.
Can you just talk us through that final few hundred metres there? Marechko, we could see him; he was perfectly positioned, but you just went past him.
Yeah, I to be honest, I was the posted on guys. More my style of racing. I like it how they lead it hard from a long way out, and it suits me better because I don't have the bunch handling skills and stuff yet, and so I was just looking for them. I didn't care where he was because I know he's pretty crafty, and he's not. If I try staying near him, I'm probably not going to get a run. So I wasn't really worried about him for what he was doing, but I tell you what, I was certainly worried about him in the last 100 metres because there's a bit of a headwind. I was a sitting duck, so it was good. We said a few laps out we wanted to follow those boys, and that's what we did.
Go and enjoy it.
Yeah, thank you very much.
The plan implemented to perfection for Dylan Kennett and the rest of the St. George Continental team. He spoke about feeding off the Manzana Postobon squad, conceding his bunchcraft skills aren't quite there as yet, but perhaps the advice to Kennett would be stop going on the public record as saying as such, because the other teams will build a strategy around that and they'll be able to swamp him. And in all honesty, the bunchcraft skills are pretty good for Dylan Kennett. I think I've underestimated them as well. That was a convincing win, really. He timed his sprint. He was a little concerned about the headwind, but with the sort of horsepower that delivered him to the victory in the opening prologue, with an average speed across 5.5 Ks of more than 53 kilometres per hour, he's able to go early because he can hold himself against the headwind. Let's take a look back and see how he did it. As is always the case in the Tour of Taihu Lake, fire into the guns to get them started. And the leaders of the various classifications all plonked at the front end of the peloton to get the stage underway. But although it was Dylan Kennett who collected the stage honours for St. George Continental Cycling Team, it was not exactly the best of starts. One of the riders from that team, another one of the New Zealanders, Tom Hubbard, it looked like a little slip at the gears, and he just ended up catapulting himself over the top of the handlebars. The good news, though, for Hubbard, he was able to remount, rejoin the peloton, and he did finish the stage. The challenge now is how much damage has been done. It was aggressive early. Here's a look at the front-on shot of that crash. More an embarrassing moment for Hubbard than one that will have really hurt. His team manager, Brett Dutton, so calm. The expression on Dutton's face as he was pushing Hubbard off, no different to the one that we saw just a few moments ago when congratulating Kennett. This was the first of the sprints. Tyler Williams leading out in the blue and white colours of the Israel Cycling Academy, and Kennett going past him in the saddle, not even out and sprinting. In third place, the orange jersey, Boris Valet. Significantly for him, third place, another 1 second time bonus. So increasing his buffer on his nearest rival, Ben Dybel, one of the teammates of Kennett's. Williams it was, who was in second position in that first intermediate sprint. It was then Ben Wolf from the Jelly Belly team who was trying to force the breakaway. So Kennett also with 5 points in the race for the green jersey, 3 going to Williams, 1 to Valet. Then at the rear end of the peloton, another touch of wheels, and caught in amongst it, Danny Lopez, the Spanish sprinter from the Borghaus BH team. A rider who's had a few top 10 finishes throughout the race. Not the best way to prepare for another sprint finish. That was with 54 kilometres to go. This was then Matthew Zenovic, a rider who finished in the top 10 overall in this race 1 year ago. He was off the front as they were approaching the second of the intermediate sprints. He did have a couple of breakaway companions for a little while. He then went solo. He was reeled back in. The sprint was on. And once again, we saw Liu of China trying to get the time bonus to get the red jersey as the leading Chinese rider. But Valet was amongst it with his Wanty Group Goubert teammates. So too was Kennett. This time, Dylan Kennett got himself up out of the saddle in a traditional sprinting style, and he made it 2 from 2, collecting another time bonus and another 5 points in the race for the green jersey. Once again, Boris Valet was in third position, collecting another 1 second time bonus. Chima, it was from the Nippo Vinny Fantini team going across the line in second position on that occasion. Kennett, Chima, and then Valet. So for Valet in third spot, another point in the race for the green jersey. So building a slight buffer there and a 1 second time bonus. At the bell, the race was all together. The team of Willia Tristina, the teammates of Jakob Mareczko, with Giuseppe Fonzi and Max Monckerson, the 2 men doing the majority of the pacemaking at the front end of the field. Meanwhile, disappointment for 195, Natnil Tesfazion, who was 4th on yesterday's stage, a front wheel puncher, a little more than 6 kilometres to go. His teammate, Habdi Michael, he did the right thing, but there was no chance for Tesfazion to be able to chase back on under the speed of the peloton, which was doing somewhere in the vicinity of 50 kilometres per hour. Then the lead out was getting a little bit messy. The riders in the pink colours, Manzano Postobon, they'd been waiting for this moment, and there was a surprise tactic. They switched the sprinter that they were looking after. The green jersey Milano, a winner of 2 stages, decided to play the role of Super Domestique, and he was doing the lead out for Para. Jordan Para got the opportunity to try and sneak the stage victory, but he just didn't quite have the legs. There was a bit of fighting for wheels around where Para was. The orange jersey of Valet, he had Wesley Creeder trying to do the lead out for him, as also, with a lot of ground to make up towards the end, Mareczko trying to take the long road home, just as he did 24 hours prior. But with the speed at the front from Milano, it was just too quick for Mareczko to come from so far back. Para now launching with more than 200 metres still to go. Bonifacio was on his wheel, and then Kennett got his nose in front, and then it was jubilation for the Kiwi. Perfect outcome for the St. George Continental Cycling team. This is a race that they had set themselves for. They really believed they could win the prologue, and they did, courtesy of Dylan Kennett. With that result, they thought maybe they're a chance to win the overall classification. Stage 2 was always going to be the big challenge for Kennett. Heavily built, powerful track rider. The climb was just a little bit too much for him. And the end result being that he conceded 39 seconds on that stage. He's still pretty well placed overall. He's at just 45 seconds behind. The 10-second time bonus today. Time bonuses throughout the stage as well. He'll be approaching a position now inside the top 10 in the overall classification. There's the rider from the Hong Kong team. That is Liao. He's the leader of the red jersey classification.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podium ceremony of the 2018 Bank of Nanjing Tour of Taihu Lake Stage 4.
just about ready to get the presentation started. The police, they do a magnificent job on this race, keeping the roads all closed. As we see the rider from the Burgos BH team, this is Danny Lopez, who fell with 54 Ks to go on the stage, but still had good enough legs to finish a very impressive third. He's all smiles now. Perhaps the injuries won't hurt quite as much, given that he's made it up onto the podium.
Welcome to the stage, the third place of the stage, Daniel Lopez from Team Burgos BH.
Lopez, the first to step out onto the stage, is the third place finisher today. Next up will be the rider who finished in second place on the stage, Leonardo Bonifacio from Nippo Vini Fantini. And then they save the best to last. The stage winner, Dylan Kennett.
Victory of this Tour of Taihu Lake. Let's welcome to the stage, Dylan Kennett from Team St. George Continental.
Really humble in his interview today, Dylan Kennett, talking himself down, which is such a rare trait for a sprinter. Normally, to be a sprinter, you need to have that little bit of bravado, a fraction brash, but Kennett, very much understated. He'll enjoy this moment though on the podium. The first time around with the prologue, it also came with the orange jersey as the overall race leader. This time though, with the time bonuses that he's collected, he will be squeezing his way back inside the top 10 in the overall classification. These are the wetland parks in Zhanyang, which are very popular tourist destinations. There's deers making their way through, plenty of ducks as well. And there's also a wishing fountain for good luck, and of course the ever popular Buddha statue.
Of the stage, Leonardo Bonifacio from Team Nippo Vini
Danny
Fantini.
Lopez stepping out as the third place finisher on the stage. Despite that he crashed earlier on, you can see the damage on the knees of the Spaniard. That will be sorer tomorrow than what it is now. Bonifacio up into second position on the stage. And the winner, Dylan Kennett from the St. George Continental Cycling Team. He really is built like a sprinter, isn't he, Dylan Kennett? Broad shoulders, huge quads, massive amount of horsepower underneath the bonnets. He's still just 23 years of age, Dylan Kennett, collecting the stage victory today ahead of Leonardo Bonifacio and Danny Lopez. These are good signs for Kennett because both these teams beside him, the Burgos BH team and the Nippo Vini Fantini team, they're teams that have ridden the biggest races in the world. Burgos BH, they participated this year in the Volta a España. The Vini Fantini team, they've made regular appearances at the Giro d'Italia. And for Kennett to get the better of riders from those teams, those squads will be paying very close attention to this race and taking a look at Kennett and thinking, maybe he could be a good project rider for us. It's one of those races where the big teams of the world, they take a look at for that classic old money ball option, the famous baseball scenario where they recruited players that were undervalued, they had restricted budgets, so they look for a rider that perhaps the big budget teams aren't thinking about, but they could squeeze some really good results out of them, and Kennett is definitely one of those guys. Now for the orange jersey, for the overall race leader, this is Boris Valet stepping out onto the podium, as he has done since the end of stage 2 in Jurong. Today, Valet finishing in 10th position on the stage. But he did pick up time bonuses at the 2 intermediate sprints. He finished in 3rd position in both of those intermediate sprints. So another 2 seconds worth of time bonuses throughout the stage for the 25-year-old Belgium, which moves him to a 14-second lead over second place, which is Ben Dybel.
Congratulations to Boris Valet, who have kept the orange jersey for the 3rd day.
not showing a lot of emotion. Still plenty of work to be done for Valet. That orange jersey is a long way from being secured. Particularly as he looks forward to tomorrow's stage, to Haimen, which is the longest stage of the race tomorrow, 146.5 kilometres. If anything, that will work to the advantage of Boris Valet, who is back on the podium, this time to collect the green jersey. This is for the points classification. Boris Valet from the Wanty Group Goubert team, also the overall race leader, the man who wears number 75, has himself at the top of the points classification, the battle for the green jersey.
Congratulations to Boris Valet, the winner.
The green jersey, though, has been worn on loan throughout today's stage by Juan Sebastian Milano, who made it clear at the start of the stage he wasn't interested in this classification, and Milano didn't pick up any points throughout today's stage. So a bit more of a buffer now for Boris Valet. Another 3 points for Boris Valet in the race for the points classification. And just as it has been since the opening prologue, it is Cormac McGough at the top of the best young rider classification with the blue jersey. This is for riders born or being younger than 25 as of the 1st of January. So this year, born after the 1st of January, 1993. And Cormac McGough, he's still got another couple of seasons being eligible for this classification. He's still just 22 years of age, the Irishman, in his first season with the Jelly Belly team.
Congratulations to Cormac McGill, the winner of the blue jersey.
He's been aggressive throughout the race also. We've seen him in lots of attacks. He tried quite a few times today. And tomorrow, being the longest stage of the race, is the stage where there is the best prospect of a breakaway being able to survive. So I anticipate the blue jersey, Cormac McGough, will attempt to get into the break tomorrow.
Let's welcome to the stage the winner of the red jersey after stage 4, Liu Wenyou from Team Hong Kong, China.
Wanya Liao, the leader of the best Chinese rider classification. He's been a little nervous, understandably so, because his main rival, Jianping Liu, is breathing down his neck just 2 seconds behind. He has spoken about his nervousness about being able to defend this jersey with just 2-second buffer. Liu, who is in second place, is a much better sprinter than Liao. Liao himself is the first to concede as such. At the first intermediate sprints, Liu, he almost got a 1-second time bonus. He was in 6th position, another few placings, and he might have been that 1 second closer to the red jersey. Liao has also been very generous with his time, with lots of post-race interviews. He's also helped on a couple of occasions with translations between Chinese and English. This is Matthew Zenovich stepping up onto the podium as the most aggressive on the stage today. So it's been a good day out for the St. George Continental team. They collect the most aggressive prize. They win the stage victory. This is Matthew Zenovich, number 166 from the St. George Continental team. And they also still hold on to second position in the general classification with Ben Dybel. For St. George Continental, second overall with Ben Dybel and 2 stage victories with Dylan Kennett and 2 days in the orange jersey. It's been a successful race, but they've still got more prizes that they do want to collect. It's champagne time. Cormac McGough in blue, in green and orange, the overall race leader and the points classification leader, that is Boris Valet. The red jersey for Liao, the leader of the Chinese classification. Kennett, the stage winner. Zenovich, the most combative on the prize. And Lopez, third on the stage today, victim of a crash with around about 54 kilometres to go, has still got the spirit to enjoy the celebrations post-stage. Just a little mouthful, but not too much. There's plenty of racing still to come. Kennett with the win, his first big international win on the road. He'll remember Taihu Lake for a long time to come. Bonifacio was in second position. Lopez was third. Marechko frustratingly in fourth. Filosi was fifth. Gonzalez sixth. A German, a good position in seventh for him. Edrezirzian was in eighth, followed by Parra in ninth. Valet rounding out the top 10 on the stage. As for the overall classification, Valet has extended his lead, now 14 seconds ahead of Dybel. Cataford is in third spot, also at 14 seconds behind. The difference between those two is split on the tenths of a second from the opening prologue. Techkov is fourth, rounding out the top 5 is Tyler Williams. The green jersey, that is on the shoulders of Valet. He picked up 3 more points today, so he now has a 4-point buffer on Milano. Lopez is closing in. He's up into third position. He's been ever consistent with those stage results. Likewise, Kennett in fourth, and then Marechko in fifth. Best young rider classification, the blue jersey, it's still tight at the top of the classification there. It is McGough ahead of Rocher and Swerble at 2 seconds apiece. Then Chima and Fuentes both at just 4 seconds behind. And the race for the red jersey is also extremely tight, with Leao 1 second clear of Liu. Fourth stage, it's gone to the Kiwi. Dylan Kennett takes the win. Boris Valet stays in the orange jersey as the overall race leader. Tomorrow, stage 5, they make their way through to Haimen. It's the longest stage of the race, 146.5 kilometres. Can Valet still stay in Orish? You'll have to join us then to find out.